Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have one heck of an amazing upload to share with you, if I do say so myself. But before we jump into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and the membership are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of these informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, guys. Beautiful day, upstate New York. 61 degrees in the Adirondacks on November 17th. That's crazy. So I found myself back here, Lily Pond Trail. Figured I'd get out one more time for the year, get a little exercise, trying to quit juuling or vaping, so put a little pressure on the lungs. 2 days ago, when Tom disappeared, 8 years ago, this whole area was filled with volunteers, Sheriff Department, Warren County Sheriffs, Essex County, Hamilton, correctional officers, and everyone else, volunteers, firemen, family members, looking for Tom. And they never found an article of clothing, never found nothing. So it's strange, but I don't know. Just beautiful today, and I don't have a bad vibe, which is weird, because I always have a bad vibe here. Let's spin the camera around and show you guys what I see. Here, hang on. So, that's the trail I just came up. A little New York State trail tag. I like to show this because this one troll likes to say I'm not from New York State. It just goes up. So that's where we're going. We're going up today. Stopped in and saw my dad. Dad has surgery on Monday. Told my dad I was coming here. He laughed. He's like, "You're never gonna find anything." Nothing. Probably not. But, you know, what can you do? Beautiful day. Beautiful. It's so warm.
that I'm surprised I don't hear any wildlife. That's something I wanted to point out. The other video I made when I said I don't hear any wildlife, guys, it's kind of weird. And this one person probably never been in the woods in his life because of the statement that he made. He wouldn't hear wildlife because of the leaves and the sticks and everything. They are used to that. The silence only occurs when there is a predator. I am not a predator. Gonna be going up. Man, great day, great day. So, all these attacks and missing 411s that happen, I think that when they occur, they look for the vulnerable. But Messick wasn't vulnerable. He was by himself, yes, but he had a rifle. And he was able to protect himself. He had been hunting in these woods, for 40, 50 years. And nothing happened to him. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it anymore. I don't know if the portal opened up or what, but he disappeared without a trace. How do you disappear without a trace? Not even his hat that he wore constantly. This red and black checkered hunting hat. Can't believe how nice it is today. It wasn't this nice 8 years ago, I can tell you that much. The volunteers and people that were searching were dealing with snow. Oh, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. That metallic sound. Could have been a portal opening. Could have been a multitude of things. Yesterday's encounter, absolutely horrifying. Hunters, father and son, that crawler thing, killing his dad, leaving him to his own means. having to fight literally for his life. It's just insane. Whew. I've not. This is my second time, third time, right there. That spot where that tree cut is. This is a state trail, so park rangers do take care of it. Obviously, New York State Trail thing. But I have not been up here this far. Look at this trail. Look at it, Bert. But I cannot imagine, or Ron and George, I can never imagine watching my dad get taken out. Whew. Hair's getting a little thin. Whew. Absolutely gorgeous, guys. Just pristine. And yes, I am gonna get a GoPro. I have one to put on my back. Trail goes down. Trail goes up. I guess we're going up. The tag's right there. So, but yeah, anybody that says I'm not on a mountain, you guys are crazy. I love trolls though. Gotta love them, right? They have a purpose in life. It's to annoy. But, anyway, I don't want to get into that crap. You know, I can never imagine what Ron went through. You know, watching his dad get hoisted up into a tree. Jesse, his son, get taken. Wow, look at that. This boulder. Ugh. Beautiful. Wouldn't want to freaking roll down that. But yeah, I could never imagine watching a loved one get taken. It'd be horrific. Absolutely horrific. There's no any noise. All right. I've been here, even though we're about, what, 15 minutes in. I've been hiking for quite a bit now. Hit pause in the very beginning when I got here. So, check this out. That's 50 feet down, right there. That's 50 feet up. Some bark tore off the tree. yeah, we're calling it a day. We'll hike it back. But anyway, I can't imagine watching a loved one get hurt or mauled by one of these creatures. Jesse's experience really changed my outlook on things. Really did. I was thinking about it too, about Jesse and his experience. And I was like, if he were not telling the truth, he would say like the dog man grabbed his son and ran bipedally, or put his son in his mouth and ran. But his detail and just accuracy of everything that we've learned about these creatures was just mind-blowing. Ron and his family, the government paying him off. Someone asked about that. Someone said, hey, if he was told to quiet down and if he was told to be quiet, then why is Ron sharing today? And the simple fact is, George passed away 4.5 months ago, 5 months ago. It was time. It was time it came out. He'd been sitting on this experience for years before he even told me. He's like Terry. When Terry told me to wait on this one encounter, he's like, don't share this about the housing build kind of cul-de-sac area in the deep woods of Ohio. Oh God. Out of fear. The FBI agent, FBI photographer and her husband went missing, found dead. Husband was never charged, questioned by the local authorities in Nantahala, but the FBI said, nah, he's coming with us. And then he just disappeared. And you can't say that like he didn't disappear, because he never touched. He was married, so there was a joint account. They owned a house together. He never touched any of that money that was in their account. People, when they go on the run, they need a little bit of flash, So, but yeah, that's why it was time. It was time that Ron get his dad's experience out and just let people know, hey, this shit's going on. The government is even more dangerous than these creatures. So, all right, I'm gonna hit pause and walk down this trail for a minute. Let me show you where, just because I'm gonna get out of breath and trip up a couple times. I don't want you guys to hear it. So that's where I kind of just came from. Just came from down here or up here. You can see how that trail just goes up. So now I'm going to be going down. But last time I was out here, I ended up tumbling. And just in case, I don't want to have that on film, even though I can edit it out, but All right. Whoa, see? All right, talk to you guys in a little bit. All right, guys. I did pause for a bit. But, whoa. There was something on this side of the trail from me. Still dead quiet, but I mean, look what I gotta go down. That's the trail I gotta go down. Something's over there. I don't know if it was a deer. I'm hoping it was a deer. But I kind of saw a flash of something. When I hit pause, I hiked down probably 15 minutes. So, I don't know what the hell that was, but I was just, you know, taking it in, and I saw something. I really wish I knew the exact location where he disappeared. I have never heard any kind of metal out here though. Any kind of metal ting or anything, which I'm so thankful for. But, oh, fuck. Alright. I mean, look. What the hell was it? It was probably a deer. Most definitely a deer. It's warm. Probably enjoying its last hurrah, looking for some foliage that's fresh and not cold. I don't know. Wow, we were pretty deep, actually. Let's go off trail here. I can just imagine him being like somewhere down in that ridge or gully or whatever, hunting, sitting there quietly, eating a sandwich, hoping that he gets a deer. We are about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from the entrance now, because this is the location where whatever, see those rocks right there? That's where I was sitting. Wherever smashed through this side of the trees and came zipping up that way. Trail cam was down in there. Probably a deer. It was probably a deer that I saw, so yeah. I'm not gonna say it was anything other than, because I don't know. I just know I saw something dark go on the side of my periphery. So there's where I was set up, right here. Set up right here and relaxing, sitting right there. And something came through here. Now I hear something, you know. Now I hear some evidence of animal activity. What the hell? Rain? Okay, that's nothing. But it ran right through here. Alright, I'll talk to you guys when I get home. Nah, that was kind of rude. Alright, now I'll talk to you guys when I get home. Beautiful day. I'm sweating. It has not been this warm in upstate New York in November for years like this. So, all right. Oh, I made it to the end. Well, 5 minutes left at least, but It's good. I'm safe. Talk to you guys when I'm at home in the studio.
Alright guys, so that was my afternoon I spent up in Horicon / Brant Lake, New York. Really unusually warm day for this season. Called my dad and said, do you remember the last time it was that nice or this nice in November, like the middle of November? And he said at least 15, maybe 20 years ago, it was unseasonably warm, which was great. I'm really glad that I got to go up there today. The only time anything felt weird was coming back down. I mean, there was no wild animal sounds, there was nothing. But also, there was no bad vibe. So, let's jump into today's first encounter from the studio. First, I'd like to say that I think it's fascinating how many of these experiences come out of Colorado. But I believe that is twofold. One, the high human population density living so close to the vast wilderness areas, and then two, the percentage of that population whose hobbies and passions take them deep out into the backcountry of this beautiful yet wild state called Colorado. This experience happened to two of my best friends, Cam and Pete, out on Old Bar K Ranch, where we all grew up in Jamestown, Colorado. Now, don't be fooled by the name. This isn't your grandfather's cattle ranch. No, the Old Bar K covers thousands of acres of rugged mountain terrain, steep rocky cliffs and jagged granite spires, like citadels and centuries standing guard on either side of James Creek as it snakes its way down that unforgiving canyon. It's such a wild place, you can almost imagine the Native Americans living and hunting out here, as truly very little has changed since then. We used to have mock battles, whereupon we would sneak upon each other with snowballs, which wasn't the wisest idea after all, as we later found out from a forest ranger who told us there was a rather robust mountain lion population living in the area, and that they have evolved to live in prides of sorts, similar to those of African lions. We would see lots of tracks: bobcat, coyote, cougar, bear, not to mention the scat. Wolves have also made their way back down into northern Colorado as well, and there is a known pack not too far away from here. The town of James itself, originally called Jimstown after Jim Smith, an early pioneer, is an old gold mining town and modern home of the Mercantile Cafe, a super cool bar and restaurant that features delicious home-cooked meals, live music almost every night of the week. Dogs and roving packs of wild mountain children roam the streets, and the river flows right through this picturesque mountain peat park smack in the middle of town. Jamestown is about 30 minutes northwest of Boulder, and the Bar K is maybe 7 to 10 miles west of that. Anyway, on to the experience, which I will share from Cam's perspective, and then follow with Pete's 2 cents. It was late one night that Pete and I decided to hike up the canyon from Jamestown to the property, as it were to pay our friend Jesse a surprise visit. Well, we got up there, and Jesse was already asleep with his girlfriend, so we felt pretty foolish and made our way back down the canyon. We thought we'd take a shortcut back through the aforementioned cliffs. It was quite dark, and of course, no flashlights, but there was enough moonlight to guide our way. It was deathly quiet, and I figured there must be a big cat or maybe a bear stalking around. We didn't pay it too much mind, as the wildlife here is rather reticent, and it's typically only young cats that will attack, and then run away, as they're just learning to interact with the environment around them. That's when we heard this very peculiar sound. It sounded like bones breaking, like these really loud snapping and popping sounds. I looked around, but couldn't see anything, and again figured it must be a cougar enjoying the bloody spoils of her late-night hunt. We kept going, maybe another 50 yards into the central cliff section, and were discussing whether to go right or left around the central spires, when something caught my eye. There were these two yellow lights, a good 100 yards or so down into the gully to the left. At first I thought it was two hikers or maybe forest rangers out looking for us. This would be pretty random, though. I thought, as although you're a stone's throw from civilization by car, this is truly remote and an isolated location. Suddenly a sound I can only describe as a guttural roar erupted up the gully, shattering the eerie silence and shaking us to our core. I was paralyzed with shock and fear, and I could literally feel the vibrations penetrate my body. Pete snapped me out of the trance, grabbing me by the back of my shirt and pulling me back up around to the right of these spires. What the heck was that? I don't know, but we need to build a fire and fast. Pete was already gathering small twigs and sticks, raking his hands through the dirt, building a crude pile of leaves and small sticks and stuff. I started grabbing some larger sticks and branches while Pete lit the pile with his lighter, blowing gently to stoke the small flame. I was nervously checking over my shoulder and thought I saw something moving in the shadows, but could not tell if it was my mind playing tricks on me. "Come on and put those sticks here like this." Pete began building a teepee around the still smoldering brush pile. We both started blowing on it, and before long a fire sprung to life. Just then we were hit with the smell that reminded me of dog shit that's been left to sit in the sun for far too long. We kept blowing on the fire, adding more and more larger sticks, anything we could find. The flames were still rising higher and higher. The sap-fueled sparks were flying off into the night around us. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and grabbed a burning branch, whipping around only to see those two yellow eyes glaring back at me. This thing was maybe 20 yards out now, and the eyes were a solid 8 feet off the ground. It was just staring at us, but I could sense a highly evolved sense of intelligence in its gaze, that and a piercing, spiteful malice. You could also feel the pure, unadulterated hatred coming off of this thing. That's when I heard what sounded like a branch break behind us. We whipped around to see another pair of yellow eyes behind us. The two sets of eyes started moving counterclockwise around the outer rim of the light cast from our now burning fire. Pete was frantically throwing more and more fodder on the fire, and I was making low-key nervous about starting the forest fire. I was running around the fire with my makeshift torch, but the light it cast was weak at best. We heard, or rather felt, another ear-piercing roar which almost knocked me to the ground, followed by a low wolf-like growl, and then a deep huffing sound before the eyes seemed to peel off into the darkness, and we heard heavy bipedal footfall fading away from the mountain canyon. We continued throwing dried-out timber onto the fire until the wee hours of morning, when I think we may have actually dozed off. We got up and kicked a bunch of rocks and dirt onto the fire, and boy, when I tell you, we straight up sprinted down that canyon back into town, where we hopped in my truck, which had coincidentally been broken into by a bear because I was an idiot and left a freshly caught brook trout in there, and drove our tails back to Gold Hill. This is Pete's 2 cents on the matter. We were obviously very curious as to just what we had encountered that night, and this is back before the days of Reddit and all the YouTube stuff out there now. But when I Googled it, we kept seeing the same thing pop up over and over again. Dogman. The name itself sounded sort of silly to me, as it invokes an image of some sort of half-man, half-dog monstrosity with a human face and dog ears, or something reminiscent of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. If you know, you know. whereas whatever we had encountered was clearly a true apex predator. Nothing funny about that. Ultimately, we didn't even really see it. We just saw its eyes. So there's really no telling what it was. It could have been a bear for all we know. Though, to be fair, there are no bear in this region that are that big and aggressive, or that have glowing yellow eyes like that. At least, not that I'm aware of in any way. These creatures, or entities, whatever you want to call them, seem to get more territorial than anything, and I'm guessing that we are not its natural prey. Though there are a staggering number of missing people reported in the Colorado Rockies, heck, the American West in general. And there's gotta be something behind that, right? And tonight's final encounter. Hey everyone, I'm a 21-year-old woman who lives in a log cabin down a dead-end road in the middle of the countryside. I've lived here my entire life, so this life is what I know best. I have about 3 neighbors. This is important because this takes place around my closest neighbor's property. I want to tell you this experience because this neighbor has passed. She was a Spitfire Italian woman who drank beer and ate raw garlic with every meal. She passed at the ripe old age of 98 and was the kindest and toughest soul you'd ever meet. For context, I live in southern Illinois, close to the border of Missouri and Kentucky, so you can gauge the landscape. I am surrounded by, you've probably guessed, but I am bordered in by a large cornfield to my back and miles of woods spanning into the next town over. I've always enjoyed the scenery around me. I feel tranquil most of the time. However, this is the countryside. There are bound to be weird occurrences every now and then. One thing I can say confidently is that I have absolutely no explanation for what happened to me when I was 16. I'll preface by saying I have faced many large animals. I was within 10 feet of a black bear in Tennessee. There was even one known for it broke free from a traveling train circus that ran through my area. The old train tracks and shack are still in the woods just a mile from my house. The bobcats I chase out of my driveway are no threat. Some with the coyote that yelp outside of my window most nights. Even the cougar that my dad had to shoot to get off our property when I was younger wasn't nearly as scary as this thing that I so clearly encountered. To paint you a picture leading up to this day, I'll start with what I heard a few days prior. It was the weekend. I remember this because usually my dad would not ask me to drive after dark. Most of us don't here due to the volume of deer and lack of street lights. And especially if I had school the next day. I had to drive him to the store and still have to because he has a condition where he cannot drive himself. I had begged him to make some of his famous chili, and he agreed to make it later in the week if we got the supplies. When we arrived home, the sun had just set, and as I was grabbing the last few bags out of the trunk, I heard it. This was not a coyote. I've heard every sound they make, the yelping, the crying, howling, fighting, whatever it may be, I can tell. This howl I heard was a singular howl, and it was deep, but worst of all, it was close. It came from the cornfield behind my house, which starts around 30 feet from where I was standing. I shot my head up and looked at my dad. He was wide-eyed, a man who I know not to be afraid of a damn thing around here. Showed a look of pure terror on his face. He turned to me and almost ripped the door off the hinges, whispering, yelling at me to get inside. That night we both sat in the living room in silence. He even changed the TV off of his normal paranormal shows to Pawn Stars. We tried to think if there were somehow wolves in the area passing through. We decided to call it a coy wolf, coyote and wolf hybrid, and forget about it. We both knew there was no chance it was this far south without being spotted somewhere, either by hunters, farmers, or in the towns. But fear plays mind games. I will say I forgot about this for a few days and was focused on my exams coming up in school. I remember because I had to wake up early and go in and prepare for testing, which is exactly what happened on my last testing day before winter break. It was foggy this morning, and I was thinking of going out and feeding the chickens, so I pulled my blinds to look out at their coop to see if their solar door had come up yet. Mind you, the sunrise barely touched the tree stumps, and the fog made it even darker outside. I went and put on my coat, and I was going to see if the elderly neighbor I had mentioned had fed her, also her very old dog. I figured my barn cats needed breakfast, so I headed outside before leaving for school. After feeding and loving up my cats, I headed for the chicken coop. As I walked around my dad's pole barn, I saw it by my neighbor's pond. I thought it was my neighbor, or maybe her fishing gear or lawnmower. Every possible option ran through my mind at this point. That was until it started moving. A stray dog would be most plausible, but of its size, it would have had to have been 2 beefy Irish wolfhounds in a black suit. I stopped dead in my tracks and hid behind the stack of wooden pallets behind the pole barn. I have never been struck with this amount of fear. I had no weapon nearby either. I felt myself black out for a second before gaining the courage to look again, hoping it hadn't made its way to me this time. I peeked at it again and was very sure of what I was seeing. An extremely large wolf. I have grown up hearing locals talk about large black dogs sighted in their backyards and appearing on trail cams, but never did I think I'd see one myself. This thing was massive compared to her brick sign by the pond's name. Being 5'4", my chin sat atop that sign, and the creature was easily almost at the height by the shoulders alone. The first part of it I could make out. The higher hind legs, its back came sloping down, slightly shorter front legs, but bulky shoulders. Its muscles were obvious through its fur. This is still a visual ingrained in my memory to this day. I waited for it to turn toward me. The curiosity along with fear to identify this creature was gnawing at me. I was pumping, full of adrenaline. I wanted to run, but I wanted to know for sure what I was truly looking at. I started gaining my sense of reality back and realized my neighbor's dog had been barking the whole time. This is a blind and deaf dog, so he knew something was there by pure instinct. I guess this was bothersome to the creature, so it started to turn back towards the deepest part of the woods. It lifted its head, and I saw it. I saw the light bounce off its eyes and wet nose, and watched it lick its chops. The fangs on this wolf made my heart drop. It could easily charge me, and I would be done in seconds. Fight or flight kicked in at this point, and I hightailed it back to my house. I sat on my floor, staring out the window, watching it become consumed by the trees. I must have sat there waiting for almost an entire hour because my mom came to see if I was up for school. I didn't tell her what I saw, just to check on my neighbor with my dad later in the day. Of course, she was confused, but sent me off to school with a promise to do so. I came home early that day and ran into the house as fast as I could, to be sure everyone was still there. I remember my dad had a strange look, but smiled at me after saying my neighbor was fine. He got the strange look back again after my mom left the room and told me that there was a coyote carcass by the pond. I told him to point out my window where it was, and he pointed exactly where I saw this wolf creature. I told him everything out of fear, but he looked as if he had already knew. I became very paranoid about leaving doors or windows unlocked, checking the property at night when everyone was asleep, and even researched late into the night about what else this could possibly have been. Nothing added up. Eventually, as time passed, I forgot about it for the most part, and would only remember when Dad's show mentioned wolf-like creatures. I heard some variation of the howl a couple of times after that in passing months, but was just glad it sounded further away until it finally stopped. I'm still fearful to go outside at night and have been having reoccurring nightmares of this creature that I have deemed a werewolf. Some might say it can't be because it didn't stand up, but I believe if it didn't feel my eyes on it, it most definitely would have. I had pushed this to the back of my mind for a very long time and always wanted to share this experience, but fear of being deemed a liar when I so clearly saw this halted me. I've recently been having nightmares of werewolves nearly every night now, and I felt it was time to share. I don't know if this creature will make its return, but I am hoping it stays as far away as possible. Alright folks, I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Guys, I'd really like to thank you for being the foundation of this platform. The community you guys have created in the comment section is just mind-blowing. The amount of respect and kindness that you guys have for each other is second to none. You guys are truly what makes this channel so special and what continues to make it grow and go. You all. So thank you. With that, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real and they are out there. If you share a little bit of information with those you love and care about, that same information that we share here on a daily basis with each other, it may just save someone's life someday. God bless you all.